A turn away from decoration and a turn toward symmetry occurred during a period from 1919 to 1939. After World War I, the Great Depression and social and demographic changes taking place internationally encouraged a revival in classical artistic techniques and subject matter in Europe. Artists were stepping away from the traditional forms of art from the prior years and advancing towards idealized bodies and calm, balanced composition. One thing I noticed was a lot of the European styles of art were being left, and more American styles of art were being adapted. Artists were stepping away from traditional forms of art from prior years and advancing towards idealized bodies and calm, balanced composition. During this period, art was taking a turn towards the future, changing the themes and changing different patterns. This movement in art challenged the idea of modern art history, which was driven by progress. This period can be categorized as regressive. Interwar classicism was an umbrella that encompasses a range of different approaches. Bauhaus was looked at as one of the most influential modernist art schools of the 20th century, rightfully so. This was a period from 1919 to 1933. Just like the changes that occurred during the interwar classicism, Bauhaus aimed to reunite fine art and functional design by doing this practical objects were created with soul of artworks. Bauhaus abandoned aspects of the traditional fine arts education. It was more than painting and sculpture. A lot of painting and sculpture was the way of the past, and as we moved into the future, it became more than just paintings and sculpture. This time period with arts was a pivotal time for artists. Things were changing and changing at a rapid rate. Different approaches, ideas, and concepts were being implemented. The 14th Street School, rather than depicting the idealized and romanticized rural subjects of American regionalism, the school painters concentrated on urban scenes. A lot of changes were being made during this period. Throughout all of the different art styles in this period, things were being changed, and that's one thing that I noticed. This period was from 1920 to 1940. One said, "My world is through my window. I look out of my window and I feel I've eaten," which was once said by the late Isabel Bishop. One of the patterns during this era was change, just like with all of the other artistic styles in this unit 3. Different styles were being rejected. I noticed that European styles were being rejected and different approaches were being picked up. Styles more tailored to American folk tradition were being adapted. These separate art movements can be categorized to produce a more comprehensive understanding of the big picture, in my opinion, because of how much change was occurring within each one. Changes were occurring during these periods at an all-time rate. Some were stepping away from European and moving to more American-based artistic approaches, and others were changing in their own way. The shared themes or patterns that defined this era were the advancements. The patterns that they were taking were stepping away from artistic approaches, like I said before, and moving to new styles and approaches. After reading several different artistic styles in Unit 3, Interwar and World War II years, things like Bauhaus and 14th Street School and Interwar classicism, it seems like they all took a change at some point. The Harlem Renaissance was another one that I was able to look at. And this movement was originally referred to as the Negro movement. As the Harlem Renaissance overlapped the Great Depression, many of its artists were employed under the government's WPA program, providing support to African American artists, which they used the resources that they had to create public murals in buildings throughout neighborhoods, including the Harlem Hospital. In my opinion, the big picture during this era was all of the change that was occurring and advancing forward into the future.